do both.
Okay, and the class size reduction, addition of language-based learning classrooms, what exactly are you looking at here?
We started 2 programs, one at the middle school, one at the high school. The problem is when you start a program like this, you're using it to provide services to students that have a need in that area. If you were to pull the program, okay, then the students who are in that area of need may say to us, hey, you don't have a program for me, I want to go somewhere else. And that tends to cost us more money. The problem is, as the students get older, you can't keep them at the same grade level where you started the program and you train the people, so you got to move them up 1 grade level, and when that happens, then how do you do that without additional funding?
So that's the part of the learning-based part?
That's, yeah, it's language-based learning.
What about
so
the
it
class
means
size
training,
reduction?
and it means, well, the reason why I included as perhaps a little bit of alleviation of the class size is because we would have to add staff in order to have that kind of a focus at a next grade level. So you end up with the possibility that if you don't do that, the students who have been taking advantage of that program now, then they're going to a grade level where there is no such program, and the parents may just say, well, then I'm going somewhere else.
Have Tim first.
No, actually, I want to jump in. I just want to say a couple of things. One is when we talk about moving last year's budget over to this year and keeping things level, that's actually going to be a net loss because things are more expensive this year than they were last year. So if you're talking paper, for example, if you bought whatever number of dollars of paper last year and you have that same number of dollars this year, you're going to be able to afford less paper.
Yes.
Okay, so when we say we're going to keep things level from last year, that's actually going to be a net loss.
Yep.
That's how I would look at it. The other thing I would say, when you look at things like a district improvement plan, I said this last year in last spring's town budget hearings. The school district, the public school systems in the state are very unique. We are charged by law to improve our product every year. Dr. Colley referred to annual yearly progress, measured mostly by the MCAS scores, but some other things too. We have to get better every year by law, state law and federal law. And nobody else in town, as far as I know, is required by law to improve their product. So that's why schools have district improvement plans, so that whatever we did this year, we can improve upon it next year, because that's what we are supposed to do legally. And this year, the budget that we're working under now is already a cut from the year before. And we haven't seen the results of that yet, because the kids are going to take the MCAS starting in 2 weeks, I believe.
Yeah.
Starting in 2 weeks, the kids are going to start taking the MCAS. And we won't get those results back until next September, October. And we'll see what happened to our results because of the cuts we made this year. So now when we look at the district improvement plan for 12, you know, if we don't do these things, we are going to be even worse off. And we're supposed to improve. So I don't know how you improve if you keep cutting and cutting and cutting.
I don't either.
I don't know. It's crazy.
You can take
I have
whoever-
one other question too at some point.
Mr. Sullivan. No, Mr. Larrabee. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
No,
Okay, I'll
The breakdown
jump in
of-
and
okay.
then
throw something.
I think we'll keep the conversation going. A couple of questions that have continued to, I'm reminded of as we go through. And one is, if we can get back to that first couple of pages, the recovery from last year, grade K through 1, 4 through 5, and 7 through 8, $40,000 for a total of $165 total recovery. Is that indicating putting a teacher back in those grades?
It would be putting teachers back in the grades that go above pretty much 25 students per classroom. And then at the bottom is one where I know we cut assistants to, in the offices, and we've been seeing all kinds of issues in terms of making sure stuff goes out on time, and it's been horrible. But those are some of the cuts in staffing that we did last year into this year. And again, I want people to not forget that we cut people. We have less people working for us this year than we did last year. So I wanted to make sure that that was not lost, that, because I don't think people understand when we say we increase class size, that's already happened. So when I put further back that we can increase class size some more, that means the classrooms that are at 26, 25, those would go to 30. So I don't want people to get the rosy picture that, we can just cut a few more and that'd be okay. No, we're just making it worse across the board.
Right. My question actually is the combination of the two numbers is, if I'm understanding it, there's a double impact of listing them as part of the additional needs and then additionally as cuts, because what we're doing is reflecting an increased need, but we're also putting that number on a list of the cuts. So
it's a choice for the school committee to make. Would you like to have across the board class sizes of around 30 and then be able to fund some of the other initiatives? Or would you say forget the other initiatives, make some of the other cuts that have nothing to do with class size to bring back some of those teachers we lost last year? Those are choices.
Yeah, and I understand that, but what I'm suggesting is if we made a decision, we absolutely want to recover from last year's cuts.
Yeah.
And we made a decision, we want to add on this list of cuts. If we said, yes, we want to add 165, but on the page of potential cuts, we pointed to...
No, the choice would be this. The choice would be something like this. You want to bring back the teachers, so in order to bring back the teachers, we're going to increase, we're not going to have sports, or we're going to increase the fees for transportation, or increase the fees for lunch, and shift the cost back into the classroom. That would be the choice. You couldn't do both. In other words, you can't add teachers and then take them away. It's going to even out. I mean, you could cut a few more teachers to get some of that money. I'm not suggesting you cut everything, but if you were, that's how many you could cut and drive everything up to about 30 students per class, and that's how much money you would save. Not saying you could do the cuts without adding any more teachers, even recovering the ones from last year, and use the money for that to do the initiatives under the student improvement plan. I'm not sure how far you would get, because you may get the best materials, you would get the best training for the teachers that are left, but they're going to be teaching 30 kids in a class. Right, so I'm not sure you're going to get the bang for the buck by cutting and then adding it somewhere else.
No, I understand the implication, but just so I can put my hands around my decision, is if I'm supportive of the recovery from last year's cuts and make the decision that I believe that our goal is to capture revenue from someplace of $165,000, then I should go over to the cuts page and cross out the teachers.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. There's almost a double impact of that showing up on two sides of the aisle.
It is. I was just simply trying to give you an idea of what the